Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to TACO's Project Builder webinar. We are here to share with you this evening another in a long line of improvements and enhancements to our website, our selection tools, and we're excited to share those with you tonight. My name is Brian Payne. I am TACO's Southeastern Regional Commercial Manager, and I manage the commercial sales in the Southeast for the company. I'm a mechanical engineer, and my background is facilities engineering, then in the rep world, and then now currently I'm with TACO. Our development team is with me tonight, so we've got a group of well-qualified people to answer hardware questions and internet questions and a broad line of questions on what we're going to be covering this evening. The topic, the information that we're going to share with you is going to cover about 35 minutes. We're going to start off with a PowerPoint, and then we're going to get into test driving the website. When we're done, you've got a control panel on your screen, and in the lower right-hand portion of that control panel is the ability to type in a question. So in about 35 minutes, if you've got any questions, you'll be able to submit those to our administrator, and I'll hopefully be able to answer them for you. So with no further ado, we'll get started. The purpose of our project builder and our website is to facilitate the selection, the specification, and the ability to apply all the different products that we make. Our goal is to save you time, is to improve your productivity, and to give you more information quicker. We want to be the easiest company to do business with. We don't want to make you log in. We don't want to make you do 1,000 different keystrokes just to get a simple piece of information. If you're somewhere in the world and you want to know how much a pump weighs and what the electrical consumption is, and you want to do it from a phone or a tablet, and you want to get it in a minute, we're gonna try to get that to you as quickly as possible. Over the past 2 years, we have traveled, we have interviewed consulting engineers, design build contractors, and we have explored what are the needs of the industry. What are the needs? How do you need information? How do you deal with changes? How do you collaborate with peers? How do you collaborate with your vendors? And we've tried to figure out who are the leading people in our industry as far as configuring information and delivering it to people designing and specifying projects. And we have also tried to figure out other best practices in other parts of business. In general, the consensus feedback was that it is the fan manufacturers that their product selection tools were the best in the industry. That they had the ability to configure projects, the ability to select pieces of equipment, make changes, store those changes. And once we got that general consensus, and we got it consistently, then we asked if you could change one thing about those product selection platforms, what would it be? And the overwhelming response was, we would like to see it web-based. And so that is our goal. Our goal is to deliver the similar experience, but to do it web-based. The other thing that came to mind is that really product selection is almost out of date. It's not. It needs to be broadened, and it's information transfer. It's the ability to quickly coordinate architectural needs, electrical needs, structural needs. So it's not just selecting a model number. It's far deeper than that, and it's the ability to get that quickly and coordinate with those other trades. We want to help you learn anything and everything you'd like to learn about a pump, a buffer tank, a heat exchanger, an expansion tank, an air separator. We want to show you options. We want to show you different RPMs, different efficiencies, different flange sizes, and we want to let you compare and evaluate those options. Finally, if you come together with, you've got 6 pumps and 2 air separators and 2 expansion tanks, and you want to put it all into a project and have that saved and coordinate that information and create a schedule, we've got the ability to do that as well. The idea of product selection, as I've indicated, has been broadened. So you've got your project and product needs. You want the ability to do research, do your selections. You'd like to accumulate all that information from O&M manual, parts lists, electrical data, a specification, a Word doc in CSI format, and you would like to be able to collaborate that information. Our response to all those needs and that research is our TACO Project Builder. We wanted to make that web-based platform available to you on a PC experience, a tablet, an iPhone, an Android, and we're going to demonstrate that here in just a minute. So why don't we... What I'm showing you now is our website. I'm showing you the introductory screen that you've got on our website. I'm going to go back and forth in just a second, so I don't want to make anybody seasick. But first of all, I'm going to give you an overview of our intention. Our intention is that, particularly for something very intensive, a lot of people are going to interact with our website for a project. They're going to do it from a PC, a tablet, or in some cases, the way the phones are going, the larger platform phones are almost like a tablet. But this is our main website. Now, when we started the whole project, we have we have heavy web traffic that is used to seeing the old TACO website, and we did not want to alienate that customer base. So we maintained the old look. It was important that somebody who knew us and dropped in on our website on a frequent basis could drop in and interact in a familiar way. So we left all of these pull-down menus at the top. The enhancement, the addition, are all these icons on the left. It is a very, very visual enhancement to product selection and information collaboration for an entire project. So on the left, you've got individual products. Now what I want to show you, I'm going to opt back quickly to one slide. And I want to make sure that those of you that may drop in on our website on either an iPhone or an Android realize that the screen you're going to land on is going to be a screen that looks like this. And the reason that we've opted to do that is that the amount of information that is now resident on our website is so large that it would be cumbersome to navigate it on a small screen. That being said, small screens don't exist as much anymore. The new iPhones, the new Samsung, the Galaxies that are out, the screens are getting large enough that you may want to look at it in the full web experience. It isn't there today, but it is coming. At the very bottom of the screen, you're going to have an opt-out button that says go to full website. So we want to give you the ability to either do it on a mobile-based platform or to have the full experience. So we're trying to navigate all those different needs. Okay. Now what I'd like to do is start showing you some of the features on how to use our website, and I want to give you kind of an analogy on where we're going to go over the next 10 minutes, is that most people end up building a project. They end up accumulating multiple pumps and other hydronic components. So think of the left-hand icons as the ingredients, and that Project Builder is the ultimate cake. So it all goes together in building up a collaborative experience, a total accumulation of different pieces. Most people in our industry start with pumps. So we're going to start with pumps this evening. I clicked on the pump icon, and one of the things I want to emphasize, and that this is something we're very proud of, is that if you're trying to analyze a hydronic component, TACO is the one place you can come to. You can analyze buffer tanks, shell and tube heat exchangers, plate and frame heat exchangers, pumps, air separators, air and dirt separators. We have the ability to analyze all these components on one site and collect all your submittal data information and create Excel spreadsheets So it is, we're very proud of that. It is a one-stop shop for everything that you would need. I want to take something that's very common in our industry. Somebody's working on, let's say it's a chilled water project, and they've got a, say, a 1,500, 1,800 ton water-cooled chiller. So let's say that's 3,600 GPM. And I don't know, let's pick 65 feet ahead, and let's do a search. What we have set up here is the ability that it will show you all the information, all the different pumps in one place. It'll gray out the pumps that don't do that duty point. And I may just, for those of you, for people out there that don't know our model numbers, what we've tried to do is say, well, here is our vertical split coupled inline pump. You get a picture of it. It's our KS, but it's somebody, you've got the ability to navigate either one. If you click on the icon, it'll pull up an even bigger picture. You can get more information and related documents. But if you want to drop into a detailed selection and you want to start accumulating data, like submittal data sheets, part sheets, then you start using our apps. In this example, it's a pump selection app. And since we had already navigated and said, hey, we're interested in a vertical split coupled, it's going to carry that information over, and it's going to start populating thumbnails and pump curves. So this one pump up here at the top, it's a KS1213B. It's 92% efficient, which is a great selection. So I'm going to select it. Now what's exciting is that you can look at that pump. You can begin to see the curve. You could click on the curve to enlarge it. You could pick the motor horsepower. In this case, if I looked at this curve, 75 horsepower would be non-overloading for most of the curve. It says 77.6, but that's only at the bottom right-hand side. So I'm going to say 75 horsepower. And what you're beginning to see is that the website recognizes who I am. It says, oh, well, you've been here, you've logged in. So almost any device that I log into our website, it recognizes me. We're going to talk about that in just one second. And what I'm going to do, you've got a list of projects here that I've worked on. A lot of them are training projects. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new project. And I'm going to call it Taco Webinar 5. And on this one, I'm going to call it, I'm going to tag the product, the actual pump, Chillwater-1. Now here's the very powerful thing. What information would you like about that pump? Well, I'd like a submittal data sheet. I'd like a submittal data sheet. I'd like a specification. And certainly I want drawings. I want my Revit drawings. So let's update the project builder, and let's go to project builder. So remember I said that the icons and the apps are kind of the ingredients, and the project builder is the accumulation of all that. So now once I clicked on go to project builder, we now bring you to the project builder screen. And we show that we have selected so far on Taco Webinar 5, we've selected one pump. If you are quickly anywhere trying to coordinate for someone, how much does this pump weigh, how much height, and what's the flange-to-flange dimension, let's see what the attached files are. Well, the attached files are a spec, a submittal data sheet, and our Revits. So I'm going to click on the submittal data sheet. And now you've got the submittal data sheet for this pump, and this is a pump I've done a lot of work with, so I happen to know that the flange to flange dimension is 5 feet. The overall height of a 75 horsepower motor is 7.5 feet, and the weight for this pump is 3,300 pounds. So I've just coordinated my architectural space, I've coordinated with my structural engineer, and with the 75 horsepower we selected earlier, I was able to coordinate with my electrical engineer. And I have spent far more time explaining it than it would take you to get that data on your own. So once you play with the website and explore pulling these product selections up, you will be able to find this very quickly. Now, one of the things I want to go back to is our home screen. On the home screen, you will notice up here it says, "Welcome, Brian Payne," and it says, "My project's 22. In order for you to save projects, we need to be able to identify a unique individual and save it under their name. So if you want to register, then that means that our website will recognize you and you can save projects. We do protect your confidentiality. We will not have a salesperson contact you. It is merely so we can keep up with the distinct projects that someone would want to save. If you don't want to log in and if you don't want to register, that's more than fine with us. We're happy that you're making selections so you can go to our website and do these things. You just can't save it as a project because there's no way for us to recognize you. Okay? So I'm going to go back to my projects. And it still remembers that I was on Takeo Webinar 5. Now from this platform, since I'm right here, it says it's basically asking, do you want to add any other products to this project? I say, sure. Let me add a buffer tank. And I already said this is a chill water system. And I'm going to show you quickly. You can default to the number of gallons per ton. Different manufacturers, it tends to range in our industry from 3 GPM a ton to 5 GPM. We default to 5 GPM because it's kind of a conservative place. You can put in the available system volume. So I may just say in this 1,500 ton system that I've got 2,000 gallons already. And just to be quick, I'm going to say it's a 1,000 ton system. And it says you need a total of 5,000 gallons for the buffering and short cycling of the chiller. We need an additional 3,000 from the tank. Let's construct that tank. These days, people are beginning to use what we call a multi-purpose tank. It's actually a crossover bridge and air separator. I'm going to do 12-inch connection sizes. I could put a 1/4-inch MPT in there, so I can do my central plant control right from the buffer tank. In this example, I don't need insulation, and please select system connections. Oh, I'd like them flanged. See, it even helps provide adult supervision for me. And it says click details. So I've got a part number, I've got all that set up, I could print the tank details. So in some of the larger tanks, when you get into 3,000, 5,000, 6,000, the bigger tanks, you end up in a custom configuration. So I'm going to show you something a little bit smaller. I'm just going to say that I've got a 500 ton system. I've got 2,000 gallons of water. And now I've got a 500 gallon tank. I want that multi-purpose tank again for the crossover bridges and the buffer and the air separation. I'm going to go flanged, 8-inch. Do 1/4-inch tappings. I'm not going to insulate it. And now this is a standard tank. And you see the icon show up Project Builder. So if I want to add this to Project Builder, I can. And it's just going to ask, hey, the last project you were in was Takeo Webinar 5. Do you want to add it to that or do something different? I'm going to add it to that. And I'm going to call it BT-3 because we hope that you've got at least 3 buffer tanks on your project. We're going to do the submittal. I'm going to update Project Builder, and I'm going to go to it. So now I've got my buffer tanks, I've got my pumps, and I can begin to, let's go ahead and build this out. Let's add an expansion tank to this. And you could fill in whether you got water glycol mix, but I'm just going to leave it water. I'm going to leave it simple. I'm going to do carbon steel. I'm going to assume that the overall system gallons is 3,000. Since it's chill water, I'll let a minimum temp of 40 degrees. I'll say it might get as high as 90 if they turn everything off. I'm going to fill it at 20 pounds, and for some reason it's a really, really, really old system, and I don't want it to get over 35 pounds. I want to protect the piping. And now I end up with all these different styles of tanks. I could have a full bladder tank, an old plain steel. I could have a diaphragm partial bladder. But I'm just going to go with a full bladder. And yes, I'm going to go to Takeo Webinar 5. I'm going to do EXP-1. And yes, I want some documents. Let's do a submittal, a spec. I'm going to go to Project Builder. So now we're beginning to build things up. We got our buffer tank, we got expansion tanks, we got pumps. Let's go to pumps. Let's add in another pump. Let's say that I want to go with, let's just say I've got a small hot water system. So I'm going to do 400 GPM. I'm going to do 80 feet ahead. And I'm going to do an in-suction pump. So I'm going to do a completely different style of pump. I'm going to do a flex coupled. And it's loaded up a FI 2510, 77% efficient. So I'm going to click it. Non-overloading is 11.6 horsepower. So I'm going to say, hey, let's put 15 horse on here. And I'm going to call this hot water -2. And just submittal, and spec. And our Revit file, Project Builder. Now we're beginning to build this up. Buffer tanks, expansion tanks, pumps. So we have the 2 pumps. Now, as I've indicated, it takes far longer to explain it than it does to do it. I'll give you an example. When we launched all this out to the public at ASHRAE, and that was close to the time of the Olympics, and we were around training people, and I went to one of our rep firms and said, here's what I'd like to do. In honor of the Olympics, I would like to have a contest. So there were about 20 engineers in the room, and I handed out a list of 6 pumps, 2 air separators, and 2 expansion tanks. And I said, the person that can select all this equipment, that can coordinate submittal data sheets, drawings, and IONMs, and aggregate it in one place and email it to me, the first person's going to get gold, get a $100 gift certificate. The second one will get silver, and the third one will get bronze. So it was 100, 75, and 50. And we had a lot of fun with it. And they had just been exposed to the new website and what we were doing. And they didn't know it was coming. So there's a whole broad group of hardware in the room. There were Android phones, there were iPhones, there were iPads, there were other tablets, there were laptops. So there's a whole broad range. And I think the gold medalist sent all of those projects, all that data to me it was around 7 minutes. And then that young man had an iPhone. The next one had an iPad, and then the last one was actually a laptop. So, and how did they do it? They actually did the selections, like I showed you, but then it says, hey, do you want to export this project? Well, you got a couple of different ways to do that. If you're doing it from a PC and you want to download it, you can download it right to wherever you want to, your desktop or another location. If you want to email it, if you're doing it from a phone and you don't want to download the file to your phone, you can email it to yourself. So there's a way to do that. Or you can email it to someone to collaborate with. So it's a very exciting thing to do. I'm going to download this. And give us just a second here, because it's catching up with us. Takeo Webinar 5, I'm doing it to the desktop. I'm going to do save. So it's been completed. And now I'm opening that zip file that it sent. And the reason I want to show you that is I want to show you the format that you're going to receive, so there's no confusion. The first thing that we do is we're going to show you the schedule, because a lot of people just want the ability, if they're doing design development documents or they're doing budgets, they'd like to be able to create some quick schedules. So what we've got here is schedules for your pumps. So you could cut and paste your chill water pump and your hot water pump in there. You could cut and paste your buffer tank. You could put your expansion tank in there. So that's what that looks like. All your documents, because remember we were doing specifications, we were doing submittals, so you got a file folder that's got all that information. And then you got your CAD, you've got your Revit files. And I'm not gonna bog down this presentation by opening those up, but it's exciting to be able to get that from all those different devices and do it quickly. Okay, so showed you how to do that. It looks like we've got a couple of questions, so I'd like to see if we can answer some of those now.
Brian, we have a question from Danny Stanaland. He would like to. He states, "This is excellent. I've used the PB already once or twice. Can we get more selection-specific shop drawings generated, like for a pump, not showing the stand if we don't want it, not listing dimensions for motor sizes that don't apply, TEFC or ODP, motor efficiency and fluid properties?"
Danny, that's a great question. It's something that we're wrestling with as far as do you pull up a family of products within a pump that has different motor frames, or do you pull up the exact one? And it's something we're going back and forth on. And as the entire effort evolves, because there's a lot of debate internally, and what we try to do is say we're going to make the best decision we can, and then we're going to judge feedback, which, Danny, thank you for that. I'm going to show you. We realize that there's going to be so many different user experiences out there that we need feedback. We need the ability to be guided by what our customer base needs. So if you'll look at the bottom of Project Builder Forum, there is a place to click on and go to a place for feedback on problems. If you have some problem, if we've seen it even in this 10-month window, we've seen updates from different operating system platforms. It may skew the font on something, when they update it. So we need to know, and this is a great place for when you have a problem or an issue. If you have a suggestion, then there's a place to log in and give us suggestions. And then we give you feedback as to when we fixed any problem, because we realize this is just going to be, it's going to be a living, breathing, working platform, and it's going to continue to evolve. I'm actually going to ask one of my teammates here some of the specifics also about, you're asking, just to clarify, do I pull up an exact 5 horsepower model pump versus showing you the different options that you could have, a 3, a 5, and a 7.5, and the different options there? Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I think he's actually asking two questions, I think. One is with regard to the Revit families, and that's going to give you the whole family. The other option is within the submittal data sheets, and that's going to give you, right now we're using our existing PDF forms as submittal data sheets, which has multiple horsepowers, multiple pump sizes, or multiple horsepowers within a given pump size. But that's something that will be changing in the future. So in the future, we're working on a system where we'll be generating submittal data sheets on the fly. So when you want a 5 horsepower pump, that's all you'll get is the submittal data sheet for that 5 horsepower. And so it won't be a matter of having all the horsepowers and picking, somehow or other indicating the one you want with a red arrow or whatever.
All right, let's just say I pulled up an example, and I want to be clear, make sure that we've answered your question, Danny. I've pulled up the one pump selection that we had, that KS1213B, the 92% efficient pump that was 75 horsepower motor, but it shows the multiple motor frames that are available. You were asking, could I get a selection sheet that is just the 75 horsepower? Is that correct? Okay, we'll see. Maybe you'll type a note to our administrator. And I think there was more than one question. I think somebody else may have had a question.
Yeah, actually another one's come in. A couple more have come in. Let's see. Jason Patterson asks, do the fields populate on the submittal data? Project engineer tags HP voltage phase model.
Yes, yes, they do, and you have to put that information in. It has to know who it is. So I was being very generic. I was just flying in here and putting in, the project name, and then it put in chill water pump 1. It put the model. It put the impeller diameter, the flow in the head. So let's go tab, and I'm going to close that. But you can go in and add broader project information. When you start a project, you can actually put in all of the information. And my teammate here is protecting me from myself, is update job information. So let's do that. Who asked that question?
That was Greg.
All right. Well,
Oh, no, sorry, Jason.
Jason. So I'm gonna say Jason's the sales guy, and I'm gonna put engineering firm CM Hill. I'm gonna say the owner is Apple, and I'm gonna say the architect is Frank Lloyd. And the mechanical is PC. Got it. Let's just update. So now let's go back. You're seeing this this live. So let's do our submittal data sheet and let's see if it actually populated that. It did. This submittal data sheet, it showed engineering firm, mechanical contractor, the rep firm. So and each of the submittal data sheets is unique. There's some places to show the information, there's some that isn't. So you're actually seeing the process of loading 10,000 unique pieces of equipment and being able to populate the submittal data sheet perfectly with all that information. But yes, so to answer your question, Jason, right here is where you can put that information. Any other questions have come in?
Yes, let's see. Greg asks, can you demonstrate if one of the pumps you selected was undesirable and you wanted to make a different selection?
Yes. Greg, just to talk about it, there are almost as many ways to navigate in and out of this as there are people. People are going to end up having their own routines and formats the way that they want to do it. So let's just say that you don't want a base mounted. You want to do an inline pump. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually remove that pump. I am sure that I want to do it. Add a pump. And all I'm going to do is just remove it. I'm going to reselect it, but I'm going to go with a vertical inline. I'm going to leave it as a split coupled. So instead of the base mounted in suction, I'm going to go with a 73% efficient 4-inch pump. It's non-overloading at 14.2, so 15 horse. It's still defaulted to the Taco Webinar 5. Hot water pump 3. I'm going to attach submittal data sheets, the spec. We've already got the Revit family, so there's no need to do that. Go to Project Builder. As this evolves, Greg, we may find a more elegant way of actually editing the pump and changing it right here from this site, and that's some of the feedback that we've got now. And you'll see that we're transparent. We actually leave the feedback that we get from the general users. It's out there for everybody to see, and then we give feedback we give feedback as to how we're doing on it and when we expect to have that updated. So if some of the comments also that we're getting are, hey, do you have the ability to attach suction diffusers, multi-purpose valves? Can you coordinate pump accessories with this? That's been one of the frequent questions, and we're working on that as well. So it's going to be something that'll be a labor of love. It'll always be updated, and these apps will keep expanding to add other components to it.
We have two entries here from Roberto. In the first one, I'm not sure it's not really in the form of a question. In these examples, fluid must be water at higher temp. Does that make sense to you, Brian?
I assume
I'm not sure what he's asking.
What some people sometimes get into is, do I select the pump for something other than pure water? How do I get into a selection? So let's do that.
He also asks, exists some booster system in Project Builder? And I think he means, does there exist a booster system in Project Builder?
A domestic water booster system, as they are traditionally configured, are not in Project Builder yet. I'll show you some of our self-sensing pumps that have a constant pressure feature on them that are used for domestic water boosting. But a traditional duplex or triplex domestic water booster is not something we manufacture. We actually sell a number of those components to our partners. But on the topic of water and the different types, mixes and makeup of the fluid that's being pumped, you would actually go back to the pump selection app, and this one pull down arrow right here lets you pick the fluid. So I hope that answers the one question about fluids and temperatures and the makeup of it.
Okay, Steve asks, can the tag alignments be more centered vertically in the submitter?
Yes, that's actually that's a labor of love. And this is, we don't stand on airs here. We're going to share with you. We're going to share with you everything that we got going on. So let me go here. Let's go here. Actually, I may still have one of those open. It's one of the things that my partner here, Tim, was talking about, that we're going to end up going to a very, very specific submittal data sheet. So instead of this family, these multi-purpose tanks here, and we've shown you that there's a tank volume of 50 to 1050 in this one multi-purpose tank, 4 different flanges and the crossover bridge, the whole 9 yards. Ultimately, because we're collecting submittal data sheets that have evolved with the product line. Our FI product line is an older line. Our buffer tanks are a relatively new line. So some of the submittal data sheets on our older products are slightly different than the submittal data sheets on our newer one. So this whole process has forced us to look at how are we going to communicate information to people and how can we make it consistent. And in making it consistent, if we come up with generating submittal data sheets on the fly in a same format, specific for the exact model you're selecting, then we're going to be able to do this formatting in a much more consistent manner. So it's on the horizon. If that is whatever, if you're hearing or seeing things that are on your mind that you have a passion for, that you want us to do, the way to get our attention is to register it on the feedback forum. That is when we were vetting this before we released it, we released it to a handful of reps, and you'll notice here at the bottom, there's a feedback form rep only. We were hammered, and it was great. Somebody saying, I want this font. I need this. Do you know that the font didn't fit in this one submittal data sheet? So we found out that if you put in a 200-character job name, like the new wonderful Living Arts Center for Visual and Performing Arts at Davidson College, that it forced all the other stuff to roll around. So, it's kind of a learning curve. I hope that answered that question. Any other questions? Okay. That seems to be all the questions that we've got. We are excited about this tool, we encourage you to use it. We're excited about sharing this information. We're excited about letting you deal with changes and collaborate, and just stay tuned, because it'll keep evolving, keep getting better, and it'll get better with your help. So please log in and share your concerns or comments with us, and we pay attention to it. Thank you for your time this evening.